What's going on, guys? It is MurderInc here, back with another Raid Shadow Legends video. Now I have a really cool video for you guys today. We're going to be talking about the higher silver and early gold, and this is more of the point that a lot of people thought the last video was about. This is about how to actually progress through, showing you the team that I'm going to use, which is going to be the same from the last video. And before we get into that, let's talk about our last video here. And when I said it was going to be a controversial video, I knew that. I had a plan in mind on where I wanted to send it, what audience I wanted it to hit, an audience that doesn't normally watch the content that I provide on a daily basis. So with that being said, I structured the video in a certain way where if they didn't watch to a certain point, they wouldn't have grasped it, and you could really see that in a lot of the comments. The point of that video, for those of you who watched it are kind of curious to what I'm going to say here, if you're looking for an apology, that's not going to happen because of how I structured that video. So as we all know, I don't make free-to-play videos, and that video was a perfect example as to why I don't. And I'm not going to group in every single free-to-play low spender into the same category because I have a surprisingly large following of free-to-play players and low spending players who have done incredible things in this game by simply just following my guides because they have such an open mind onto how I approach all of my content. So the point of the last video was, as the title clearly stated, was to go into the lower brackets and see what the quality of the whale teams are, if newer players should be avoiding them or if they should actually go to attack them based on what they have. Now this has nothing to do with how I geared my champions, and as I stressed, I did gear them to the quality of silver 2 that I said in the beginning, and yet half the comments were saying your gear is not a representation of what players in bronze have. Yes, I know, because what I did say in the video a little bit later on to kind of bait people to see if they were going to quickly dismiss everything I was saying because they were upset about one point and not go for the vital information moving down the line. So with that being said, I used 2 champions instead of 4. A lot of the comments were talking about team power. I said that was irrelevant. I purposely stacked resistance on the team, as I also said in the video, because I was using a Doom Priest. Now if you don't know how Doom Priest works, she will clear a debuff at the start of every single turn whenever she gets a turn, even if she is CC'd. So I stacked the useless stat of resistance, since it doesn't really matter if my team gets CC'd or not, because Doom Priest was the fastest. She was going to get a turn and cleanse that debuff from my team, making it a non-factor. That's why my team power was so high. It didn't have to do with my health, it didn't have to do with my defense, and I built less than 100% crit rate on every single champion and a laughable amount of crit damage on every single champion. Now a lot of people talked about the speeds on my team. Now I understand the point of some players saying I have one champion at 260, 270 and then the rest are very low. I went the opposite approach because I went for the benefit of showing you what synergy looked like. Perfect synergy teams will always cut off speed boosters like you saw on pretty much every single attack I did, where their turn meter booster went first, my 4 champions went right after that, because I had them all not at a crazy speed, but in between 210 to 180 speed, with some CC champions in there, making sure they all got their turn. So that was one of the key takeaways. Now a lot of people said the video didn't do well, you're very out of touch with the free-to-play community and what an early game player has to go through, and that's what brings us to what I want to show you next. So as we can see here, this video has the lowest like to dislike ratio out of any videos that I've ever released before. However, most of the videos that have the lowest amount of likes are the free-to-play videos that I do, and I don't do them very often, but I do have a purpose to doing them. This video actually has been the most successful video I've released in the past 2 months of me being on YouTube. Now as we can see here, the video hasn't been out for a day yet and I have 654 likes on this video, compared to other videos that have been out for quite some time with 300, 500, 500, 200, and then 700, which was that Doom Tower video, kind of getting people excited for what was to come from the official raid trailer. The 781 likes is after 6 days as opposed to less than a day of 654 likes. So that's really what I'm focused on here. instead of the dislikes, because what I did was I had people make sure this was pushed to the top of Reddit, because Reddit is not what it used to be. Reddit used to be an awesome tool for new players to go to, tons of helpful people. Now it's kind of shifted to strictly complaining, and I have a segment on my Twitch where we review Reddit often and go over some of the people complaining on how their teams don't make sense at all in these lower brackets, not understanding why they're losing all the time, complaining about the whale teams, which is literally what made me make this video in the first place, to show people that by building a team with good synergy like I did, going second all the time, and really making sure I could see if these teams are really well built, which we found out that most of the teams with legendaries and bronze and the silver that I reached were not well built at all. And I was really happy to see that I got overflowed with comments saying, I followed your advice, I went after these teams and they were really easy to beat. Some players even moving up to arena ranks just from that small change alone. All of the viewers who normally watch my videos, I really appreciate you guys, and I'm glad you found the information that I put some work into to make sure you could get if you did actually take the time to watch the video through and pick up the tips that I did place throughout this. Now, one thing that really did concern me in some of the comments from the players who don't normally frequent my channel is the comparison to Hell Hades. Now, whether you realize it or not, you are not doing Hell Hades any favors by bringing his name up. Hell Hades is a very smart content creator. He has a very large, free-to-play, low-spender, early to mid-game progression-based audience, and the video that I just did is not something he would ever do because this clashes with his entire player base. He is going to make a video with a brand new account, and he is going to show you the struggles of what it's like in the early arena. I get that. I actually did mention that multiple times later on in the video. Once again, another indication that people who are commenting didn't even give it the time to watch it through. They just went straight to the comment section after hearing something they did not like. So now let's talk about one thing that people probably forgot. I'm not sure how they could have. The Affinity Challenge. Hell Hades, myself, and many other creators actually got all the way to silver, some of us even reaching silver 3 or silver 4 without 4 level 60s and without masteries on those champions, and we weren't allowed to use legendaries. We understand how hard it is. A lot of us have a really advanced understanding of the game, and Hell Hades and myself actually made it the furthest out of all of the other content creators, especially in those early weeks before we got the full 60s. So Hell Hades definitely knows what he's doing and has the potential to take a free-to-play count and really push it to the limit. However, as we saw from my video, as soon as you do something, people are going to dissect saying you got lucky with champions. Not everyone gets lucky with champions, and it really takes away from the main point. So he didn't do that. He's a very smart person and a really good content creator. So I really want to make that clarification to just let you guys know that you are not doing him a service by bringing him up in these comments. While you may think you are using him as a defending point, you're actually making him look bad, and that's not what I want to see on my channel. On top of that, a lot of people said I was condescending at the start. Honestly, I have the same approach that any informational channel will have. Facts don't care about your feelings. I was very straightforward on how to win an arena and what you need to do. If you took that as me calling you stupid, I'm not sure what to tell you. I've been doing this for about 6 months now, and I never get those comments from the viewer base that I attract here, which, as I mentioned, includes a significant free-to-play low spender base. So not only was this a really successful video as far as how many people I actually helped in this video, it really got to show my viewers what kind of this mob mentality actually looks like, where a select group of free-to-play players like to make everything about themselves. They took my gear, they took the champions I was using, saying it was unfair, instead of taking all of the important tips I gave to players on how they can actually succeed in the arena. They said, I don't have it, so I don't want to hear anything else. Once again, not something I'm looking for as far as people who are watching my channel. And a few people even shocked the world and made comments about me using the legendary war chief, considered F tier or one of the worst legendaries by most tier lists that a lot of people follow, and they said your war chief, it wasn't fair, you're using your war chief. And this goes back to the fact that if you're free to play or a low spender, you can't use your legendary. Now, with that point alone, a lot of people jumped into the comments and said that's a very unintelligent way to look at free to play. I agree. However, a lot of people, and especially the people who smash those dislikes, don't agree with. Now, I'm not upset you disliked the video. I respect your opinion. I actually took hours out of my day, actual hours, responding to most of the comments that the video got. A lot of them were from viewers that I already have, but most of them were from people who have never been on my channel before. So this kind of goes to show you that if I really was disconnected and didn't care, I wouldn't have taken the time to go through and comment to so many different people. I'm pretty sure I responded to over 300 people out of the 700 that are currently on that list. So that kind of just goes to show what I'm talking about as far as what I aim to do. And I was happily surprised. I actually got more new subs to my channel from that video than I have in the past 7 videos on my channel after looking at those analytics. And this is something I expected. I've done this before, like I've mentioned with clan boss videos, making some type of free to play video. That's usually where I gain a lot of new subs. Even though some people are loud, extremely disappointed, and sometimes disrespectful in the comments, I'll always say thank you for your opinion. I respect it. However, you missed the whole point of the video. You'll definitely see a lot of those if you go and look back, if you're someone who made a comment like that. And I did see the term, you're condescending. Like I said before, I say it how it is. I'm not here to make things sound better than they actually are. I'm not here to rant in the game. Me saying arena broken, which I actually did, and I did say it was much harder than it was multiple times throughout the video, which was another point that was apparently missed by people. I'm not here to complain about the game. That does no good for anybody. I'm here to say this is the way the game is. This is how it currently works. Let's see how I can help you in improving what you can do with this game. Now, thankfully, a lot of people saw that, and there's going to be lots of new additions to this channel, so welcome if you guys are watching. Now, with all of that being said, if you are here from the past video, if you were upset, give me your feedback, because you may think that I'm kind of just pushing you aside and making fun of you. That's not the case. I actually value your feedback, not higher than my viewers, but equally to my viewers, and I'm interested to what you guys have to say. Hopefully it's a bit more constructive than last time. Some people elected on talking about the way I look and the way my videos were edited instead of giving actual constructive feedback on my account, or just simply saying I'm out of touch and really having no basis on that fact at all. So if you really want to do some good, leave a comment and actually let me know not how you feel, but what you think about the message of the video. And now that I kind of explained and gave you the TLDR of what the video was actually about, instead of what you thought it was about based on that first 5 or 6 minutes. So now let's get into the main part of the video, which is going to be me going from higher silver into the early gold, giving people those tips and tricks that they need to know, kind of touching on the team synergy and basically what people thought the point of the first video was. That's going to be the point of the second video here. So we're going to be using the same 4 champions that we used last time. There are going to be 2 additions, but I'm not going to add them just yet until we get to some of the more difficult teams. The 2 new champions I'm going to be adding are Seeker and Razin Scarhide. I really had to debate on whether or not I wanted to use another legendary because I didn't want the rarity of the champion to really affect too much. But I talked with a few people from the community and they said they think it would be acceptable to use Razin since he is a permanent fusion and something players can look forward to. And as I mentioned before, you shouldn't be expecting to get into gold or high silver if you are early on into the game, unless you get really lucky with pulls and gear at the same time. So I elected to go with Razin, and also here is his gear for that. And I also elected to go with Seeker, and here is his gear. As mentioned, these 2 champions are geared more towards gold, so I'm not going to be using them just yet. So let's start out in the arena and see what you can pick up from what I'm about to do here. So now this is going to be a really cool team to see. Let's see if we can beat this Hegemon team. I'm always skeptical, as mentioned in the last video, against Hegemon teams this low in the bracket. This is a really well built team. This is something you would normally see in Platinum. So let's see how strong this team actually is. So no defense down from Saris based on her AI. This person didn't use that to their advantage. Honestly, let's just throw this on auto. Let's target Arbiter here and see how we do. So that's another big thing. The only time she will A2 is if your team has a shield set, which is why I recommend running a shield set against the Saris if you have the opportunity to. So we did lose our Seer there. She wasn't able to use that armor burn, or maybe she did and maybe I just missed it. We do have the ally protection going on. There was the buff strip. So this was actually kind of relatively well timed as far as when using all of this. So that is the benefit here. So thankfully Trunda is going to be targeting our Sandlash since there is the weak affinity there. So all we have to do is kill this arbiter, then we can actually start working on the other champions here. Arbiter's almost dead. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the kill there, which would have been much more beneficial, although the reflect damage from War Chief actually did pull off the kill, and War Chief should be able to solo the rest of these. Hegemon's going to be a problem as always, but the fact that we have block debuffs on War Chief right now definitely puts us in a good spot. Okay, Trunda's down, so now the only real problem is Hegemon. I don't think this Hegemon can actually beat this War Chief based on his kit, based on how well he's built. So that's the good news here. So this is going to be another free win here, and I can't complain too much. The speed, timing of all these teams were good. The only constructive criticism I would have against this team is the fact that Ceres' AI, since it's known and widely talked about, you can definitely do your best to farm Fire Knight, get that immunity gear. The stats don't have to be crazy, but having the defense down first compared to not having it will definitely increase the amount of times this person wins on defense, as opposed to just kind of using this for their offense team. I'm sure this team works really well. I'm pretty sure this team would have easily beat my team had I faced them on offense if Ceres did in fact use her defense on weekend first. Now let's get into this team. This team definitely looks very good on paper, so let's see how it actually plays out in application here. We have the speed leader, turn meter booster, debuffer, and their protection with that block debuff. Now we're gonna strip that from them. And on top of the strip, a really strong and a champion I'm going to go over in a video very soon is Seeker. Seeker is extremely undervalued in Arena. He's a lot better than a lot of people think. So that's definitely a point I'm going to be touching on, to making sure that people understand the actual strength of Seeker in a lot of these matches here. Now we can put this on auto here. Let's probably go for our rush card, the tower, since he could be a threat, blocking the cooldown on a single target champion, being able to recycle that block damage, which we don't want. The Seeker does have a decent amount of crit rate, so he could pose a threat, but overall this is going to be a solid win for our team here while going second. So now that we've made it to Silver 4, closer to Gold 1, this is kind of where I want to focus this video on. I'm going to be activating probably Seeker, maybe not Razin yet. We're going to see how the difficulty of these teams play out, but for the next 200 or 300 points, this is where we're really going to see what I can do for you guys as far as guiding you on how to build a team and if it's going to be successful or not. Let's take a step and fight this team, which is in fact sitting at that Gold 1 with 29 points over the limit to reach Gold 1. Now the question is going to be, is this team going to be enough to beat a team like this? The first thing I'm worried about is going to be the initial A2 from Skull Crown, if it's going to be hard hitting enough to in fact one-shot Sandlash Survivor, or if I'm going to get out of this okay. Now their team's definitely going to go first with the Sifi if they built this properly, having that speed leader for every single champion and a turn meter and speed booster. So the first thing I think I'm going to do is, instead of risking using Sandlash, this is where I'm going to use my Seeker here. Really try to maximize the play here, and I don't believe I'm going to get lapped by a team like this. However, it is possible, but since the aura I'm using is only for Force Champions and I only have one Force Champion, I'm going to elect to use increased defense in all ally battles by 30% instead of speed, because that's going to be the best approach to this team going forward. So let's see what we can do to this team and if we can actually get the win here. They're going to go first. Okay, we ended up doing pretty well. Now let's strip this buff. We put 3 of them asleep, which is not bad. Now we get a turn meter booster for the first time in this team. Can we land the provoke? We ended up getting the provoke, so that was very strong. Let's keep our focus on Sifi, even though we're going to run into a problem here. Can we kill Sifi before she gets another turn after this provoke? And should we go to kill the Skull Crown right away? I'm going to elect to use my ability on Skull Crusher. Unfortunately, it just woke him up and didn't provoke him at all, which is unfortunate. So now we're in a slightly dangerous spot, but there's still hope. Let's see if I can actually pull off getting a turn here. And it looks like Sifi is going to go next, but there's no one to revive, so that is the good news. Let's go ahead and use this A1 against Sifi with that provoke there. We do have the benefit of reflect damage, which is going to do a lot of damage in the end. So that is also good. It's going to kind of not completely get rid of her heals, since she does heal for a significant amount, but the fact that we're getting these provokes on Sifi from both War Chief as well as Seeker is going to be very strong in the long run. Now the goal is going to be to aim strictly for Sifi here, stealing that buff. Now we have ally protection on our team here. For those of you who don't know, if you steal an ally protection from the other team, all damage that my War Chief takes is going to be reflected to the champion in the match that applied ally protection. So that's going to be Miscreated Monster. So we don't have to focus too heavily on Miscreated Monster. The goal here is going to be to put as much damage into other champions as possible. Now we shall turn meter boost here. Let's get some additional damage onto Sifi. And she should be dying very soon here. Let's just throw this A1 out there. Okay, perfect. So she is in fact dead. We just procced increased defense in anyone, so that's a good sign. Now hopefully by this point, Skull Crown, okay, so her unkillable did not recycle its cooldown, so it's not currently available yet. Let's get rid of that continuous heal, making this Miscreated Monster a rather large problem. Let's get rid of the sleep there. Try to put some damage into this Skull Crown here. Use an A2, try to get the kill. Okay, we got the kill. Now let's do this on auto. So this team is actually pretty well built. They could have done a bit better and used someone instead of Miscreated Monster or instead of Skull Crusher. The benefit to having double ally protection is a little bit risky, even though not many people are running steel buff champions. The fact that they're overlapping two of the same ability definitely gets rid of the use. I do see the benefit in counterattack with the Skull Crown, so if I had to make a recommendation, I would say probably get rid of Miscreated Monster and add someone who either brings more survivability or more single target damage to the team, since this team was heavily focused on using Skull Crown only as their damage dealer, trying to get that AoE damage out. But if anyone runs a double revive champion against this team, they're going to have a very easy time trying to counter this team. Now we're going to face this team here with a Lysandra, Relic Keeper, Madame Ceres, and Ray as the damage dealing champion here. Now they're not only going to boost their speed, but my turn meter is going to be reduced here, so I have to be very careful in how I play this. We do have that threat potential of the freeze on the team, so this is where I'm actually going to bring in Doom Priest to the team instead of Seeker, and the fact that there aren't going to be a lot of buffs to strip and I'm not too worried about sleeping their champions will let them have that speed buff for now. I'm going to elect to use Seeker in this team as well. So now this is an example of me using the two new champions to my advantage to try and counter this team as best as I can, since they're definitely going to go first. Let's see how this plays out, and they're also wearing a shield set on top of that, which is very interesting. So another example of building enough speed to cut off their team. This isn't something you should normally see. Usually you want to build and make sure your damage dealing champions or your shield set champions, whatever you have, in this case their Relic Keeper and Ray, you want to make sure that they're actually going if you're going to go first. And I've seen this over and over again in silver so far. I saw this in bronze all the time. You can kind of expect that in bronze since it is a newer player base and they're probably not used to how to properly speed tune your teams, nor do they have the gear to do it just yet. But usually once you're getting into these territories of high silver, early gold, you really want to make sure your teams are tuned properly. So I can't have a team without a turn meter booster like Razin just having a decent amount of speed, being able to cut off your team, because they had a much higher chance of success prior to me doing this. Now we'll use that A3 and we got the weak hit there, so nothing happened. Now we'll use our turn meter boost here. We'll go for some damage on, I'm thinking Ray, as she's going to be doing the most damage here, even though she's the weak affinity champion. Let's steal this continuous heal and hopefully speed buff. Alright, perfect. So he actually killed himself on the counterattack, which I was kind of hoping for, knowing that War Chief has that reflect damage built into his kit. Now we can use this A2 against Ray. Okay, so we got feared, not gonna happen. Now we'll just hit auto and slowly click on Ray here. We did get debuff, so we have the increased defense to counteract the defense down. So that's very important when using someone like Seeker or any defense up buff. If you want to make your team as safe as possible, Seeker's the best choice since he does apply upon a critical hit as soon as he is in fact hit. But that's something to consider. If you're going to get defense down, you want to attempt to survive any type of nuke coming into you as the player. You want to use someone like a Seeker who's going to apply it instantly on their hit, and keep the rest of your team safe from that point on. Alright guys, so now that we've made it to gold 1, we're getting really close to gold 2, we're going to start seeing some very well built teams. While I did gear the original 4 champions for silver, I do have Razin built a bit more towards gold 1, as well as Seeker kind of on that threshold between silver and gold. So this is going to be getting a lot more difficult, so let's see if I can use the team synergy to my advantage, even though I'm probably going to be at a significant disadvantage as far as gear wise, to actually pull off some wins against these teams here. So let's start with the bottom of the list here, starting with this Lissandra team. Now what we're gonna have to look at here is we definitely want to keep Doom Priest here for that Umbral to make sure that the taunt we're going to be receiving is as reduced as possible. We definitely want that defense up here, and they do have a nuker that is red affinity, so my champions aren't necessarily safe, especially with someone like Seeker being extremely vulnerable in a situation like this. What I'm probably going to elect to do is to get rid of War Chief and actually use Sandlash Survivor, making Razin the kind of workhorse for this team, making sure that I have the most success possible here. Now one thing I'm starting to think of is they do have a Seeker as well, so they are going to be applying that increased defense buff. Now this is where someone like Seer would shine a lot, however I don't think my Seer being in that silver gear is going to be able to compete with this team specifically, because we are entering such a competitive bracket in the gold arena. Let's see how this team in fact does. They're obviously going to go first. They did not build enough accuracy on any of their champions, which is very surprising. So we did get rid of the provoke. Now this is something I wasn't expecting coming into this, since I've been getting debuffed since I've been in silver with this team. So this is really interesting. Now we have to go through what we're going to do next here. We're probably going to try to kill Sargalas, and she seems to be the only actual threat we're going to have. So let's reduce the turn meters here. We ended up getting the kill. Let's throw this on auto. Target, not you, Lissandra. And this should be an easy win. So this was just an example of a team that isn't developed enough and probably shouldn't be in this bracket here, since my team is significantly under geared compared to what we're going to see definitely in a lot of these teams coming up in this gold bracket. Now let's see if we can find a full legendary team to fight like this one. This one's definitely going to prove problematic. We have a lockout here, we have a stun here, a ton of buffs going up, and a provoke that can possibly go up, so we're gonna have to be very careful how we actually approach this team. Now we do want to initially survive what's going to happen here, so this is where we have to think very carefully about what we do next, because any wrong move against a team like this, if they're built properly, can lead to a loss. So speed, we're not going to worry about speed too much. We did give our team a decent amount of speed, so the aura is definitely interchangeable. Question is, which champions are we going to use? War Chief's going to be strong if we elect to not use Seer, so one of these champions is going to have to be put in, if not both of them. However, we don't want to sacrifice too much survivability just to keep these two champions in here. I don't believe damage is going to be an issue, so we can take Seeker out with that defense up. I think the ally protection is going to be enough, since we do have a double hit champion here, and we are hoping that the weak hit isn't enough to one-shot our Sandlash Survivor. I'm going to get rid of this speed aura here, and let's actually give this team an accuracy check, increasing the accuracy of everyone on my team by 90. And I don't honestly think Seer is going to survive here, which is unfortunate. I'll definitely give it a shot, but I don't think her silver quality gear is going to be enough in this gold arena to survive what's going to happen, but I'm interested to see at what plays out here. With the turn meter boost, okay, we survived and the passive didn't proc at all. However, we have no cooldowns available now. So what do? Anyone we kill is going to be revived, so let's just start putting damage into our Sifi here. And actually, Doom Priest wasn't affected by that A3. Unfortunately, Razin was. Let's try to remove some of these buffs. We got 2 of them. Not the most crucial ones, but still it's fine. Okay, that proc the ally protection there. Let's try to strip some further buffs. Okay, we did a good job there. Only to have it reapplied by Warlord, so this team has really strong synergy, and I really like how they built this defense. Let's keep going at it against Sifi, who is going to be cycling through her cooldowns enough to possibly be a huge issue here. So this is why we brought Doom Priest, got rid of that sleep there, which increases lots of potential here. We do need to be careful and make sure that Razin isn't in fact dying. Razen's taking a ton of damage so far. Can he survive what Fushan has left to do against this champion here? I'm not going to be able to debuff Warlord here. However, we're going to be able to debuff Sifi, and I don't think she's going to cleanse it. Okay, perfect. Let's get some more damage onto Sifi here, decrease that turn meter. Razen got really lucky by not dying there. And Warlord's going to go next. Let's see what he does. Okay, still not able to kill. Let's try and gamble with this A2 to see if it's enough to actually kill Sifi with weaken only, but she has defense up of. Okay, thankfully we were able to kill it. Razen's probably going to die here very soon. Let's try to strip these buffs and get a sleep on them. That worked out extremely well for our team. Now we're going to be hitting our Drekstar here. Now let's get rid of Fushan next. Perfect. Now Warlord's going to be the problem, so let's A1 Warlord. And I'm quite surprised I could pull off this win. I definitely got lucky by not getting crit and having Razen survive there. This is a very well-built team, and I'm really impressed with this team. They definitely put a lot of thought and effort, and this is what a team in this bracket should actually look like. This team, I'm sure, has lots of wins in their defense logs. Based on the synergy, they nailed synergy with this team. Between having Sifi, Warlord going together, alternating those turns. If they were a little bit faster, they could definitely get to gold 4, making sure that every time Sifi's block debuff is dropped, unless it's stripped, Warlord's instantly applying it after there, on top of that lockdown cooldown. So once again, can't stress it enough, this is the best team we've seen so far, so huge shout out to this guy. Alright, so now that you guys had a solid bit to take away, this will be the last page I'm going over here. Now that we're not quite, but almost into the middle of gold 2 here, to see if our team can still stand its ground against these teams. The first team we're going to tackle is the bottom of the list here, which is this Arbiter, Lissandra, double raid team. So we have turn meter booster, turn meter decreaser, 2 CCers, and 2 damage dealers. So this should be really interesting. So let's see how we're going to approach this first. Definitely want Doom Priest since we have double freeze coming out here. Don't really care about debuff strips since it's just a speed buff and an attack boost. We aren't going to rely on Sandlash Survivor here since she is green affinity and we have 2 damage dealers who are blue affinity. We want to use War Chief. We definitely want to use Seeker here to make sure we're surviving the initial burst. I'm not going to necessarily resistance check this team because, as mentioned before, they have double ray, so it's likely one of them is more accuracy focused, one of them is more damage focused. So if we're not going to be able to accuracy check their entire team, there's no point in doing it initially. So now the choice is either defense or speed for our 3 champions. Now since we do have a turn meter booster, even though we have 3 champions, the turn meter booster is actually going to take the highest priority over giving speed to our other 3 champions here. We want to make sure he goes first and the speed aura isn't going to help him. What is going to help him survive, if possible, is going to be that defense aura, increasing his defense as well as our defense based damage dealers on this team. So let's give this a go and see what we can do here. Surprisingly, Lissandra is first. We have the double freeze. Okay, so it looks like they actually didn't focus on damage as much as I thought they were going to. Now we're going to have to kill this Arbiter here. She did just waste her revive, so we are pretty safe for the time being. Let's go ahead and get some damage onto this champion here. And now, since Arbiter's pretty safe, we can do some risky plays, try to use our support role champions in taking out this second ray here. So let's put in some damage there. And this should easily kill this champion with an A1. Perfect. Now we have 2 more rounds to buy us time with that provoke on Arbiter. So let's go ahead, elect to skip Arbiter, and keep doing damage to this ray. Let's see if our Doom Priest can finish her off. Yes, she could. Now we can hit auto. Click on the Arbiter to make sure she is focused since there's 1 turn left on that provoke. And this is something that I really want people to grasp. If you're going to CC a target for 3 turns, something that War Chief just did there, don't focus the target you just CC'd. Try to put into some damage to some other threatening champions first to give your team that higher success chance of actually winning. The more damage you do to the champion with debuffs on them, they could have the defensive tree talent where the harder you hit the champion, it gives them a 25% chance to get rid of that debuff, which you would never want. That would have ruined my entire match here, leading to the whole team getting revived based on how quick this arbiter was. So definitely keep that in mind if you're using some type of a CC champion. Try not to focus them if you have the opportunity and have the time to focus a separate champion and get that kill. Now let's go ahead and try and tackle this team here. This team is going to be rather difficult, so I'm excited and worried at the same time to see what happens. Block revive, bomb champion, speed booster, AoE taunt, reflect damage on that taunt champion, as well as a counter attack to be doing some serious damage. So this is definitely a scary team. I'm excited to see what my half silver, half gold build team can actually do against this team. So the first thing we're going to do is we're probably not going to accuracy check them since they have so many potential damage dealers. Let's go ahead and throw in our defense leader. I'm not really worried about, I almost want to say I'm not worried about reflect damage too much. However, I am, and at the same time I'm worried about the bomb debuff, so we are going to have to use a rather risky team here. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to pull this off, but we are going to do the best we possibly can. Everything's really going to come down to, can they one-shot this team? If they can't, we should be in good shape. If they can, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. So let's see if they can one-shot us here. Okay, the taunt came out first, not something you normally see. Bombs did the work there. Weak hits there. Okay, so Razin could be in trouble. The first bomb set did kill Seer, which removed the use of having Seer in the team. Let's go after Folly first here, since he's going to be a huge issue going forward. Okay, the bomb actually did kill Seer. We are 100% going to lose this team. So let's leave this and see what we can do now that we saw the team. A really important part of the arena is being able to adapt to the team if possible, seeing what you can do better to try to pull off the win. So we know that Seer can't survive the initial wave of damage coming out. The question is going to be, can we survive with the War Chief? And now is the time we want to accuracy check their team. So let's see if this small change alone is enough to actually beat this team. We have a taunt landed on 3 of the champions here. Okay, the bombs did not go off for some reason. I think we hit the accuracy check on our Lord Shazar, so that was a very good gamble overall. Now let's try to put in some damage onto this Folly here, since he's definitely going to be an issue. We will turn meter boost, go for the provoke. He does have reflect damage, so we do have to be careful. Let's reduce the turn meter of all these champions here. We did a lot of damage to ourselves there since everyone had reflect. Thankfully, Razin did not die, although he came very close. Let's try to finish off Lord Shazar. Perfect. Razin's almost dead. Okay, there was the final hit there. Let's turn meter boost, get rid of this speed booster that they have. She's taunted, so now let's go to steal these buffs. What did we steal? The counter attack? Perfect. We are definitely in a very good spot here. 3 turns and they reflect on Angar here, so as mentioned before, we're going to aim for Golden Reaper to make this an easy run here. Now we're going to get a counter attack and this should finish off the match. Perfect. Perfect example of looking at a team, seeing what they can do first. If you have the token, hit them again, really test your knowledge and apply what you know, and really think about a champion like Razin. He is the perfect accuracy check champion in the game for Arena. He's fusible, a lot of people can use him, and let me show you the best part about Razin. I showed you his gear briefly earlier, but let me show you something even better based on the comments we got from the last video. I ended up giving Razin Clan Boss Masteries. So this is something where I used them in Clan Boss. These are actually the masteries he used when I did 100 million damage without using a Poisoner in Ultra Nightmare in 1 key, so that was really cool. So I used Giant Slayer to my advantage here, to give myself a boost and giving extra damage that you normally wouldn't be able to calculate for this Razin here. And as far as our Seeker Mastery goes, these are Seeker's Masteries. He's also in a Clan Boss Unkillable Mastery set, giving him that extra bonus to some damage by having War Master. Obviously, if you want to check out the gear of the other 4 champions as mentioned, just check out the last video I just released. Thanks a bunch for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this. I am kind of having fun in these lower brackets, coming up with new ideas. I probably won't be able to apply them to Platinum Arena, but I'm definitely willing to stay in gold, maybe go back down to gold 1, 2, 3, and 4, help people since they're really struggling with their arbiter missions, coming up with some new team compositions I can use that don't always rely on a turn meter booster going first and just destroying your team. I'll try to come up with some cool interactions with champions like Mosley and Mage in a shield set, or any other champions that I find worthy of a shield set, using some different strategies to help you progress that last arbiter mission to make sure you guys are in fact getting your arbiter. So once again, thanks a bunch for watching. If you enjoy this content, feel free to subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you're notified when I drop my next video, and I look forward to seeing you all in my next upload.